Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to me, slowly but surely and eventually rating every single one of Ash's Pokemon that he has ever caught or had at any given point in time. Like I said, somehow my little list down here got all whacked out of order. 1 second while I fix this how I think it was. And while I'm doing that, I can explain that this will be, so you probably noticed that there are a few Pokemon you've already ranked on here as well. And that would be because I remember them. Frankly, that's literally, so there are Pokemon Ash uses in other regions, such as the Johto League, or such as the Pokemon League, stuff like that, right? And I'm gonna do, to the best of my abilities, grab the Pokemon he uses when he uses them. That being said, I will probably miss some because, like, I want to say Ash uses Snorlax a little bit throughout the Johto League. I don't remember any huge impactful moments. Maybe he used Kingler in the Johto League or something. I don't know. I cannot for the life of me remember. So I'm not going to worry about it. I know for a fact he used Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charizard throughout the beginning. Because... well, not Charizard, but Charizard comes back at some point. But the point is, I remember these three specifically having major moments in the Johto series. So they will be re-ranked based off of how they performed in Johto, on top of how they performed in Kanto. So, being said, I'm going to start with Heracross, who, from my research, seemed to be the first Pokemon Ash caught in Johto. I don't remember that being the case, but Johto was a weird series, so I wouldn't put it past him. That being said, I personally love Heracross. I love Ash's Heracross. I think Heracross himself is an amazing Pokemon, so I love the fact that Ash had him. And because of those, I am going to put him in the Pikachu tier now. Probably gonna put him right here in between Butterfree and Pidgeot because I feel like that worked. I feel like him being in the amazing tier is good. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next one because I know because Heracross was obsessed with Bulbasaur's nectar, which is the whole reason Ash was able to catch him. I know that, I remember that much, but whatever. Point is, next Pokemon is Chikorita. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. Not the biggest fan of Chikorita. Period. In general, as a Pokemon, but like, my opinions on... so the anime influences my opinions on specific Pokemon more than my actual opinions on the Pokemon do. That being said, I really was not a big fan of Chikorita. She was okay, but the whole Chikorita trying to take over Pikachu's spot thing on Ash's show, that whole situation was really kind of annoying and obnoxious to watch. So not a huge fan of this in general. Is honestly lucky I'm not putting it down here. No, nothing is going to go below that Raticate. Nah, you know what? It had its moments. It had moments where it was good. Just every time there was a good moment, it would remind you, hey, I suck. So next is Cyndaquil. And I'm going to be honest. Again, kind of an obnoxious situation with Cyndaquil because it had a lot of issues using its fire abilities, if I remember right. But I like, your boy tried his best, and he did a good job when he could. Like, I love this Cyndaquil, and it was much less obnoxious than this Chikorita was. Chikorita was really annoying. Also, I don't know how many of you out there liked the Johto half of the first series. I don't know how many of you liked the Johto series in general. You're wrong. Not to be rude. The intro, the openings and like endings were like, the music was really good for the Johto series, and I preface this, I loved the Johto video games: Gold, Silver, Crystal, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. All those are amazing. Heart Gold and Soul Silver are two of my favorite Pokemon games. Period. The Johto series anime was absolute garbage. It was so bad. Indigo League was also bad. Johto somehow got worse, and then Hoenn turned the whole thing around, which we'll get to that in the next episode. We're not dealing with that just yet. Because next up, we have Totodile. Another mildly obnoxious situation where Ash and Misty are fighting over who catches Totodile. Which Ash, I don't remember who. There's a lot of weird trades happening in the show, but ultimately ended up being Ash's. I'm pretty sure Ash caught it in the lore ball. But I absolutely loved Ash's Totodile. Ash's Totodile was probably my favorite of Ash's Johto Pokemon. It never had an annoying moment. It just liked chomping on things, man, and how can you hate something like that? Why I love Fuecoco. Next up, we have Ash's Shiny Noctowl, which, I'm going to be honest, probably belongs somewhere up in here. I'm going to be honest, actually, real quick. Cyndaquil did great. Noctowl probably somewhere in this tier, but there's one reason why I am going to bump it up a full tier up into amazing. And that's because every single time, you can go back and watch this for yourself. It's one of my favorite things they did in the Johto series. Every time Ash threw out his Noctowl, there was a small, almost insignificant sparkle animation that happened around it. And it was such a subtle thing, and I thought it was a really cool thing to have put in the anime. Because it doesn't happen when you see Noctowl for the first time, so you don't notice because it's already out in the wild. But every time Ash throws it out into battle, there's a small little sparkle animation around it that shows that it's shiny. I thought that was amazing when I started noticing it. Now, next Pokemon is Bayleaf. And I don't know if anyone remembers 4 or 5 minutes ago when I talked about Chikorita. Was not a big fan of Chikorita's crush on Ash. However, somehow they managed to turn that around with Bayleaf. It's probably one of the few impressive things they did in Johto, was they managed to take something that was incredibly annoying and obnoxious to watch and turn it into, honestly, a phenomenal Pokemon. I honestly, by the end of the series, adored Ash's Bayleaf. And while I'm here, you know what? Totodile absolutely deserves Superb. I was debating if it was better than Charmander or not, and I sat there, looked at, thought Superb looked awfully barren. Because, yeah, no, honestly, just thinking about it again, Totodile is my favorite Johto Pokemon on Ash's team. And Bayleaf goes from an annoying little kid with a crush to a Pokemon that just really loves its trainer. Not to mention there's an entire episode where it runs away because Ash is just a douchebag to it for no reason. No, completely out of left field. It was on the latter half of the Johto series. Over the span of like 10 episodes or so, Brock, Misty, and Ash all had episodes that were specifically about how shitty of people they were. And it was really weird. Because there was an episode where someone fell in love with Brock, and he was like, oh no, well, I don't like her because she likes me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, well, because like she likes me, so there must be something wrong with her, so I don't like that. And it was super toxic and shitty. And then she ended up falling for someone else, and Brock was like, no, I want her to like me. It was a shitty episode. And there was another episode where, like, for Misty, it was like 200 something episodes after Misty had finally stopped hating bug types, came out of nowhere and started like everything short of trying to eradicate a population. It was crazy. She was super anti-bug again out of nowhere. Like it went from like her being like, eek a bug, to like wanting to destroy all insects. It was crazy. And then Ashes, he just literally like cut Bailey off. He started like yelling at her and all kinds of shit. She was getting super upset. She ended up running away, and he was like, I don't understand what her big deal is. And it was super bad. Anyway, next one. Fanpy. I mean, I love Fanpy. Fanpy was great. Can I change this? You know what? This makes it sound shitty. These are good Pokemon. These aren't good enough. Like they passed the bar. They're good. These were good Pokemon. I liked these Pokemon. Like Snorlax, Kingler, Cyndaquil. These were good Pokemon. I liked them. Good enough does not mean... Good enough made it sound bad. This was definitely there. Is gonna stay here. And Matt is also here. On to the next one. We have Larvitar. And keep in mind, as I referenced Haunter in the last episode, I will be adding in any Pokemon that Ash did not so caught, or actually I will be right back because I just remembered I forgot to add a couple Pokemon I found for my research. Okay, guys, we're coming back to my scuffed video as they always are. So I went ahead and added the two Pokemon I forgot to add, Seeking and Beedrill, who Ash caught in two separate Pokemon catching tournaments in the Johto series. And while no, he doesn't really use them, he did catch them, and they were his at some point in time. And if it was just for less than an episode. And I'm counting that. Absolutely. That being said, I'm sure you probably also noticed I've added another tier, because I felt like the amazing / good tiers were getting a little weighted compared to the rest, which that will happen anyway. But that being said, I added them because I thought, hey, like, you know, for example with Noctowl, right? I said he's not good, he's amazing. That's a little bit too much of a jump, right? So we're gonna pull Fanpy up here, because Fanpy was great, as was Tauros, and Noctowl, and Primeape, and Krabby, and I would say Pidgeot. And these 4 are amazing, these 6 are great, and these 5 are good. The rest hold true. Now, on that note, we are moving on to Larvitar, and I don't know if anyone remembers Ash's Larvitar, which he did not technically catch. I'm aware of this. He did not catch it. It was just an egg. He hatched it, gave it back to its mom. End of story. Big boom bam shumlop. This thing knew one move, and that was the move it used all the time. And I'm gonna be honest, I It goes down here. And it would go down below Raticate were it not for the very end of it getting given to its mom. It was at least a little sweet. But I will be damned if I was not happy Ash should not have this Larvitar anymore. I hated this Larvitar with a burning passion. That being said, we have Seeking, who Ash caught in a it was a fish catching contest somewhere in Johto. I don't know exactly what episode it was, but I do remember this happening. And nothing really happened, so honestly, I would not have been happy if Ash had a. I would not be excited if Ash had kept this Seeking. So we're not going there. That being said, I would have been excited if Ash had kept this Beedrill. And we actually get to see Beedrill, I think, later, because he gives his Beedrill to Casey. And Casey does a great job training Beedrill. So I can't really put him in was definitely there because he was most definitely not there. Kind of the whole point of it. There we go. Now, to address the elephants in the room. I do believe Charizard was in the go away tier last time. I believe Bulbasaur and Squirtle were both in the amazing. These have been changed. Charizard has gone up. As of Johto, Charizard showed up, performed better. Even in the Orange Islands, Charizard started doing better. And I don't remember exactly when Charizard Valley was. But after, because he came back for the Johto League. I remember he came back for the Johto League. And he did great. Now, has he outshined his previous transgressions? God, no. But I will put him here just below Snorlax because with Charizard being one of my favorite Pokemon, it made me so happy seeing Charizard not be a complete and utter douchebag. On that note, we have Bulbasaur and Squirtle, who were, as I said, in the amazing tier. This has changed. Something that was really kind of obnoxious in Johto, and I understand they didn't really know how to deal with. They hadn't established Ash leaving his Pokemon behind to go to the next region yet, so he still had Bulbasaur and Squirtle. After Ash caught Chikorita, I want to say there was a good 20-something episode span of time in which Bulbasaur just wasn't used. He was on his team. He was there. But Bulbasaur didn't get used. And I know that's not Bulbasaur's fault, but to go from being one of Ash's driving force of Pokemon to rarely seen and eventually dropped off at Professor Oak's lab for the rest of time, I would honestly say Bulbasaur is one of the goodest Pokemon that Ash has, but that's all he really is anymore. But you know what? He does a great job doing it. That Bulbasaur does everything he can. And on to Squirtle. I loved Ash's Squirtle, but a relatively similar. It wasn't as bad as Bulbasaur, but it was relatively similar. Totodile came, Squirtle went. Just like that, there wasn't really any pomp or circumstance. Now, I want to say it was in Johto that Squirtle went back to the Squirtle Squad. I want to say that was when pretty sure it is. And it was really inspiring, but not as inspiring as Bulbasaur being the end-all be-all of Professor Oak's lab. So we're gonna put Squirtle here at the top of, and these are the last two major appearances for Bulbasaur and Squirtle. So this will be their permanent position, unless someone goes in above, above or below. Point is, that's it. These are all of Ash's Pokemon up to Generation 2. Ranked in order of what I deemed appropriate. And no one can tell me I'm wrong, because I know I am. But anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope I will see you all in the next episode, but until then, bye.